systems engineer for Fidelity Security, and this presentation is on social networking, preventing the risks of social networking. We're going to go a little bit into who the company is. We'll talk about data leakage generally, because that's basically what we want to take care of. We take care of it through different means. We'll be looking at social engineering, and specifically how it can be used over social networking sites, and a bit about products and technology. The company's based in Washington. It was started about 2002, pretty much as a spin-off of US defense research, if you want, into data leakage at the time. What are we concerned with? Data leakage and also cyber security. We're not going to talk about cyber security in this presentation, other than briefly as a part of where we work. I don't want to spend too much time on this slide. We all know that data leakage is generally bad press, and there's a lot of press out there. How do we see data communication channels at the moment? If we look at the center of this is our company, this is our assets. Some companies don't really have a very good idea of what their real assets are, i.e. how are they going to lose money if they lose these resources? How is it shared? It's shared in loads of different ways. On that side of the diagram, we've got official communication channels. This is stuff that is like, it's HTTP, SMTP, FTP, it can be other file transfer protocols, if it's data going to business partners. But the company controls those servers. They control the infrastructure and the transport methods they use. Over on this side, there's other areas of communication, and these are the areas that the company doesn't really control. The stuff we don't control, webmail. Everybody goes out and uses it. Social networking, instant messenger. They're all unofficial communication channels, but people use them. People use them for business. And businesses are starting to use them, which is what the presentation concentrates on. The other part is all this stuff down here, which has got really nothing to do with business. And this is kind of where cybersecurity is. Cybersecurity is actually being discussed next door. We do a whole load of stuff on that. But here we have literally no control over what happens, because it's all done by external actors by and large. So, what kind of channels are we seeing data leakage taking place over? We have the uneducated user forwards information, sends it to their own people. It all goes out in a clear, and it's very easy to take care of. No, you can see what people are doing out there. You can see how the data moves around. Then you've got the malicious insider. They'll be using a set of applications that are more intelligent. They won't necessarily be web or FTP. They could be using steganography to obfuscate data. They could be using encrypted channels to get data to move out of here. Above that, you've got the external threat actors. Now, everybody talks about advanced persistent threats as another word for China. What we're also seeing is external threat actors working on the uneducated user, and it's a part of social networking, social engineering to try and get hold of information from people. Who uses social networking? Historically, it's just been users, people. It's literally social activity that takes place. It hasn't always been that concerned with corporate activity. These are all US stats. I know the figures over here in Europe are a lot lower, but you can see figures here where 69% of companies currently in the US have a corporate presence on these different sites. We have a corporate presence on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We use it for corporate messaging. This isn't anything more to do with me having a chat with my friends at home or keeping in touch with people at the other side of the world socially. Now, of those companies, a third of them have acknowledged some malicious activity on social networking sites, whether it's malware infection from using applications on these sites, or whether it's just data leakage taking place. But a third of them have acknowledged that they've been used or abused on the social sites. Of those, another third admitted to data loss. No comment on how reliable the statistics are, because people are very quiet about this kind of loss. Losses, 5 $5,000 upwards. They didn't give any of the higher figures, higher range. But that's roughly about 10% of all corporations in the last year who signed up to these corporate accounts have seen some kind of financial impact of allowing these to be used. And the question then becomes, should they be doing it? Should they block all of Facebook? Should they block all of LinkedIn? They're very difficult sites to block. As soon as you do it in an IP address range, it's very easy to get onto jump onto LinkedIn via connections via other countries. The Russian site will bring you straight back into the US LinkedIn. So they're actually very difficult to block because of their ubiquity and mobility. We're going to look at a few different types of social engineering. They're not all directly related to social networking. So let's just cover a few of the old ones that we know about. Just calling people up, phone calls, emailing them, or distributing USB rogue CDs. How do these attacks take place? Whoever the threat actor is, they've got a bit of homework to do before they can launch these activities. No? So here we're looking at doing some research into different agencies, different companies, which companies are working together. If I want to focus an attack on company A, I'm going to find what business, what companies B and C does this company A work with. I can get a lot of that information off social networking sites without necessarily launching the attack over the social networking sites, because these sites give all the links between people within different organizations. After that, we start calling, we start misrepresenting who we are, getting through to people, and ask them to send information out to us by whatever means. People are unbelievably gullible here in what they'll believe when they're discussing with people over the telephone and present them to be people. The kind of response you want, you need to look at the emails, what data is being sent out, and on forensic analysis of what may have been sent out previously. You need to know what your sensitive information is to be able to prevent it now once the social engineering has taken place. Again, research has to be done by the threat actor to find out different links within different organizations. Here we're saying, looking at research contracts. There was a session earlier about purchasing malware. If you go on to some of these sites and requesting that says malware be created for whatever specific company you're trying to target, then you just start emailing it out. Where's the email addresses? They're all out there on social networking sites. Email it to them, do all sorts of stuff with what you want to send to them, and then get that program installing itself and sending data back out via whatever channels are available to it. The response is to watch out for things like FTP sessions going to strange destinations, unexpected FTP transfers. If FTP is being used not necessarily to recognize parties, then action can be taken based on them. Once again, the company needs to know what information is sensitive so they can detect it being sent out. Build a CD. Get a CD, send it to somebody, set a training course. We all get, companies always get this kind of literature delivered to them. So now you're putting in a bit of extra free giveaways, which is a dubious CD with the malware on there. Somebody goes and rumbles through all of this, the presentation is full of graphics, it's going to make the disk move. What it's actually doing when the malware is in there is searching through the disk to find out what bits of information may be interested to third parties. How do you get it and how do you get it out to people? Here we're talking about the exit vectors doing SSH to unusual locations. Once again, this stuff can be checked on. You're looking at rogue nations, anything going to China, anything going to destinations that you really shouldn't be doing business with. Who is your company? Who do you work with? You can look at detecting rogue encryption within a corporate environment. If I've got data that I do want to transfer from one organization to the other because I do business with them, it needs to have a given level of encryption. So weak encryption can be detected and, when necessary, prevented. Taking those same kind of attacks into social networking, though, here we can say, get hold of somebody's credentials on Facebook. You can do this with brute force password attacks, you can do this with spear phishing. To get somebody's credentials, the attacker will just go in and be that person. This one is actually in the presentation because it happened to VP of marketing. He got a call one day from a message one day from a friend saying, look, I'm out traveling, everything's been stolen, I seriously need some money to get back to the US. It's happened to family friends. Family friends are actually sending the money out. In this case, you know, we're a security company. The first thing the guy does, get on the phone, calls his mate, who's in the office, working as normal. So he makes another telephone call through to Western Union to say, look, you've got a wire line that's being used for scamming or getting hold of for financial gain illegally. What is the response to this? Is don't be fooled. Get your users trained, get people, get your family to understand how far they can go with this. There's very little technical prevention that can go on here, because all that's happened is a purely social discussion. It hasn't gone into any corporate activity. There's nothing really that you're going to be intended with blocking, prevention. So, similar attack to pure social engineering again. Once again, this is over networking sites where you set yourself up as a company, basically, and also presented on the social networking sites. You make yourself aware. It doesn't have to be big, but it looks good. It looks like your company is represented there. Guys, build up a wiki page. And then you start passing this information to your target, saying, look, you need to be doing business with us because we work in this industry, here's some references. You start pulling them into your environment with the whole target of just getting bits of information out of them that can lead you, if necessary, the attacker, to other attack vectors that can be used to get hold of the real sensitive information. What kind of response do you want to this? Vocabulary. What are people allowed to speak on over social networking? There's other considerations here, which is, if you do have a vocabulary that says, look, this is my industry, this is what can be talked about, it's also to say to people within your organization who isn't allowed to talk about it. People typically nominate it, and it's quite often the marketing organization to say, these are the ones who can give the messages, these are the ones who can deliver corporate information over these channels. And other people really should be minded not to. Taking the same kind of stuff a step further, set yourself up as an executive of the company you're targeting. There's a whole load of execs who don't know how to use LinkedIn, they don't want to use Facebook. Their jobs are typically found on the golf course rather than in social networking sites. So just set yourself up and get somebody to do a quiz. So you've got employees out on these sites and their boss gets in touch with them. I've had my boss get in touch with me, although that was the boss, to say, go and do this. It was the same kind of quiz. I did check if it was the boss, also if other people within the organisation were doing it. He just wanted to get a kind of jokey picture of the profile of his team members. So this kind of stuff is very easy to mount, it's very easy to get fooled by them. The responses, again, look at different vocabulary, look at what you're doing out to these ghost-hosted sites, if you want, to prevent users from leaking information over the unofficial channels. What kind of stuff do we do about that? We have a box that just connects up to the net, looks at all protocols, looks at all ports, pulls all the packets in, rips them apart and decides what to do about them. I'm going to go into a little bit of the technological side of it. We don't work as a proxy. So if you looked at all the possible vectors for getting data out of an organization, you've got web that goes to proxies, you've got mail that goes to mail transfer agents. A lot of first generation data leakage just puts ICAP servers on those to do protocol controls. We do it all at layer 2, so we see all of the packets that fly past it. We do a whole load of applications or protocols that can't even be proxied, such as SMB, database connections, etc. We work as an appliance. It can either be a hardware appliance or it can be a VMware image. But we ship the OS with hardening, we do STIG compatibility currently for the US. So the idea is you install this, you put it anywhere within your network, you can virtually or physically take feeds. We look at all ports, so if you've got HTTP out there, it doesn't have to go over port 80. If it's going over any other port, we'll find it. If you've got other things going over port 80, we'll find SSH or secure shell remote terminal sessions over different hijacked ports, for example. They're very quick to install. I think we do about 2 days to get these into the network, which kind of compares with endpoint data leakage or stuff where you have to touch the desktops. We're talking like 6 to 12 months of deployment before you can get it in there. It can block in this mode, huh? You put it in there, it can be as a bridge. It'll start just throwing packets away when it starts being violated. It'll send TCP resets as well if you just want to connect it online on a wiretap or on a mirror port. How do we view data? Perhaps to take one look at that last slide, I'm not going to go back to it. We all know what intrusion prevention is and intrusion detection. They're called IPS and IDS. We call this thing XPS, extrusion prevention. It sounds like a kind of medical condition, but it was intentional to say, look, this unit goes in the network where you would put your IPS, your IDS, either in bridge or in span ports. We look at data differently though. We don't really have signatures that look for viruses or attacks. We just rip protocols apart, we rip files apart, we rip email, instant messenger streams, anything that we could pull text out of, we take that text, and that becomes content for us. And then we let all of these protocols back, let all these algorithms loose to decide what kind of content is this. You've got a hierarchy where you've got a policy, the policy can be applied to a sensor, and policies consist of rules. Historically, we were always looking for data leaving an organization. It's to do with data leakage. IPS is kind of looking in the other direction, it's looking for what's coming in. In penultimate release, we decided, look, it's time to stop doing that. It's time to look in both directions, because the stuff comes into an organization as well as goes out. We've got about 13, maybe 14 different algorithms that we use to categorize data, whether it's registration, keywords for vocabularies, keyword lists. We do a whole load of stuff on cyber, for example, detecting road ports, detecting proxy bypass and mail bypass. There's another thing that we do which is pretty unusual, is unknown protocols. When we see a flow go through the box, we have all these different protocol decoders. They all dive in there to start trying to find out what protocol is going over this port. The port never defines what the protocol is as far as we're concerned. Just like a file name extension doesn't really tell you what kind of file is in there that can be renamed. Ports can be remanipulated naturally. So, at the end of all that, if none of the protocol decoders has told us what it is, we mark it here as unknown and flag it up to the management system to say, look, you've got something flying around this network and you don't know what it is, we don't know what it is, it needs to be looked at. The kind of stuff that comes out of that are strange exit vectors, remapped applications sometimes, proprietary applications where you get a lot of financial institutions will write their own protocols to do data exchange. Now, to prevent that stuff making false positives, you also do binary protocol signatures, where you make a signature, it's basically a regex, and you apply it to all the unknown protocols to say, look, if you see this, it's actually that protocol that's passing through the network. Whitelisting. Locational triggers. What are the endpoints of communication? IP address or country? I mean, there's all this stuff about leakage to China. We ship a database which is just licensed that says these IP addresses are registered in these countries. We can do it on LDAP attributes as well. We can do IP to ID mapping, where if somebody does a net log on after DHCP, you take their net log on to tie a user down to give an IP address. So know exactly which organizational unit is doing this. Finally, this idea of channel. Channel is anything that the protocol decoders find. For example, if I'm decoding XMTP, an attribute is the to and the from fields. They're not text. We don't treat them as text. We treat them as attributes. What other stuff is an attribute? The header footer of a Word document is an attribute. So if we find company confidential in the header footer, we can raise one kind of alert. If we find company confidential in the body of an email, we may not particularly be bothered about it because it has a completely different meaning depending on where the text appears. Other stuff in attributes, we do database protection. So if somebody's doing an SQL query, what they're querying for the SQL is an attribute. What comes back is the data. So you can control what tables people are allowed to request, and what data comes out of those tables in terms of leakage. All of these can be bunched together with and or not, making arbitrarily complex expressions to be able to look at how data is moving within an organization. Actions that you take, there's actually a couple of slides above. There's two main ones, which is alert and block. Blocking is where you decided a flow is a violation, you start throwing stuff in the bucket. And alert is where you take that flow, you're constantly looking for things like IP addresses, source ports, you're looking for file names, usernames. These are all the little tokens, the little attributes that we take out, we put them in a bucket. And then we let the rule logic loose to decide, based on all of these attributes, has that been violated? When that's been violated, that bucket gets passed up to the management station, and at some point later, depending on load, you actually take the flow, the enclosures, the email, TCP packets, and send the whole lot to the management station for forensics. So you can recover files that were previously passed on the network on the management station. It is possible also just to pass the bucket and not the forensics, to say, look, all I'm going to give you is the information so you can visualize the flows without having an overhead of potentially megabytes of attached data. So, to come back to social networking and stuff, a few main bullets that you need to watch out for. Employees should be told about a code of conduct. What can they use social networking for? Who can actually speak on behalf of the company? I mean, we do stuff on a social business. It's a messaging site where our users can send questions to us to get technical information. By and large, I never respond to them. It's not really my job to give a corporate message over, you really should be doing it this way, or you shouldn't be doing it that way, or it doesn't work. In my opinion, that's the job of people above me, such as marketing and some of the development directors. So tell people about their roles, what they can speak about. Officials who have LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter accounts created for them to prevent abuse, even if they don't use them. You can do two things there. One is you as an administrator, you go and create an account on their behalf. Or two, email them and say, look, block that email address from ever being used as an account. There's not an account that I want to be created. Mine is blocked on a couple of the sites for that purpose. LinkedIn and Facebook are quite happy to prevent that stuff from being abused. We'll close the stuff down if you need to. And then after that, you need technical controls. The technical controls can work, but there's a whole lot of stuff above and beyond that still needs to be taken care of. It is outside of the scope of a technical solution. So, corporations are starting to use social networking very heavily in the US. It's starting more here, a bit slower. There's a lot of potential abuse, and there's steps that can be taken to reduce the possibility of suffering the risks of these sites. And like I said, about 10% of users have recognized financial risk associated with 10% of accounts. And it's probably not right just to block all these. Good. Thanks. That's all I wanted to present. Good. Questions if you want.
Sure. Actually, I have one. With regard to stuff that is potentially legitimately being exfiltrated, like let's say some data goes to the cloud, some data stays home. Is this an opportunity
companies who really know where they distribute data within their organization. I mean, we did some work with the pharmaceuticals, and they're building relationships with lots of different development laboratories and production laboratories. And they legally do want to exchange a lot of their core assets with these organizations, because they're in co-development. With this, if you've got a policy, a business policy, a business practice that says, we deal with these people, and we don't deal with those people, then you can build that in there to say, this is where I can and this is where I can't speak about this kind of data.
No, I just think it just sounds like it kind of speaks to policy level a little bit, and that's, definitely just people that, think at the data level, I've got my documents, I've got my general ledger, and in certain cases I know I never want to see leave home, even if I've got a partner that I trust, it's sort of reading a marketing documentation or something. You don't necessarily want them reading everything.
So you always have the choice to alert or block. You don't have to take the operation to prevent. And I'll be honest, of the companies that I've got installed within Europe, because that's where I work, I know one who's gone in line with blocking, because they really do know what they want to block. Everybody else is a monitor. They want to know that the stuff has moved. But the option of blocking, give them the option. But it does give you that visibility. The other stuff I was talking about on the flow mapping, where you say, forget all the forensics. You set up a policy that says, look for my core assets. My core assets could be PCI, credit cards. But for the pharmaceuticals, it was the production methods to make drugs in large volumes very purely so it can be ingested. So you build fingerprints to look for that stuff. And then you say, just send me this bucket of tokens, and you can just bring up these maps and say, where do I talk development documents, production documents, and it will show you where they go legally. You can decide where they might be going illegally to build your plan of how you want to apply an eventual policy. We don't currently allow you to build the policy from that map. Well, there's wizards for tuning. Sure. We don't yet have wizards for policy creation. But this ability to visualize is quite profound. When you set a policy that says, look for drug production documents, we don't care whether it's over HTTP, SMTP, SMB, whatever. We'll just tell you everywhere it's going with these things. So it's looking way into the session, taking out the content and reporting on it. Good. I would have been preferred to be. Oh, that's a question.
What do you think are the prerequisites for a customer to actually start thinking about DLP?
There's only really two main drivers, unfortunately.
I'm not talking about the drivers. I think every company has a driver to think about DLP, but there needs to be some kind of maturity that you need to have before you can actually efficiently use DLP.
In what sense? I mean, one of the remarks I was saying is not many companies are using the P, the prevention bit, at the moment. They're using the visibility to find out where stuff is going, with an eye to apply the policy to prevent. So, you need to have, to be able to actually deploy the stuff, you need a business protocol, a business policy. And it's often a written document that says, this is how my business works, this is how I transfer data, and this is the data that I'm transferring that's sensitive. And people should be responsible for all of these documents. People's balls need to be on the line before they really start thinking, hey, if it gets out, I lose my job. They don't really, be quite honest, a lot of managers don't really care if it gets out of this financial loss. Hey, a lot of it is, you put the head on the line.
So you need to be able to classify data and to assign responsibility.
A company really does need to understand what is their core asset. I mean, we're getting with the pharmaceuticals, and I went to speak to them first. I envisaged us having to protect chemical compounds, because that's what the drugs are. And they said, man, the chemical compounds are important. They're published on the net. Everybody's researched them. It's the production. And it was probably the only company I met who knew the asset and had the protocol there. They gave their security people the business decision to say, look, you can block that if the potential financial impact is greater than this. And they had policy surrounding all that. And that really helps with deployment. That really helps with being able to say, okay, this is what you've got, this is how we can apply a policy. Because all of the different stuff on what protocols you use, which endpoints, what encryption they use, etc., we can check all of that stuff. But so few companies who really know what is going on. I mean, you put these boxes on next to somebody's internet-facing firewall, and you get tons of stuff going on with different applications, SSH over these ports, secure FTP over those ports, where people... You really have to get the right part of the security organization in there to explain why that isn't some form of attack, some exit vector. So
that goes beyond 2 or 3 days you need to actually put
in production. 2 or 3 days, the quickest I've done is half an hour, but that was with pre-configured policy for insurance companies. So we had a good discussion about what they wanted to see. Vehicle identification numbers and checksums, credit cards, names, addresses, household contents, that kind of stuff. What you get in those 2 days is, you give me the feed, you send it to me, and I'll start visualizing for you what data is moving outside of your organization. We'll do that fairly low priority. I'll just give you these diagrammatics of where it happens. Then the policy you build for an organization based on their industry, you can start saying, well, look, this could be sensitive, that could be sensitive. You get everything. Within 2 days, you get this big picture. Then you have to decide what needs to be whitelisted, what is applications that we use to exchange data, so that you can find out the stuff that is nefarious that you want to protect against. We are doing research into behavioral along the same thing, using the information flow map. Normally when I do this, I jump onto the net and I show you what the information flow map is. It's this big diagram where data is moving. But that gives a big picture into what is going on within the organization. Thanks. I think I was just saying, to close up, that the cyber security being presented through there, that's actually where I would prefer to be presenting here.